Consider if this is our flow rule. So where in my office, I'll be having an option called apply leave. If I click on this button background, one flow is getting generated at screen number 1 is what I'll get. And after I submitting it, screen number 2, maybe it will be routed to my manager. Okay, it will be routed to my manager. And maybe in my same office, another person, another team member is trying to click on apply laptop request. He'll be getting a screen, right? Nothing but there will be a different flow. So the first one will be routed for him and the next one again for the same manager. And another employee is trying to go for cab request. He'll be getting a screen whenever he clicking on any button. No doubt one flow rule will be executed and the next one will be routed to a manager. And maybe something like hotel bill claiming is what you're trying to do. So even for that, there will be a flow rule and which will be like going for manager's approval. Now, if I'm such manager, so all the request IDs will be available in my work list, right? So consider this is like request ID 1. This is like laptop request 1. This is my cab request 1. This is like hotel bill related request number 1. Okay. And if this is raised somewhere at like morning 9 o'clock, and this is like 10 o'clock, and this is like 12 p.m., this is like 3 p.m. So now tell me as a manager, if I log in, so what will be the first item in my work list? Is it L-1 or HB-1? Come on. So there are different flow rules and every assignment, every second assignment might be going for the manager approval. So manager is like something Ravi. Okay, all these manager only, same manager should approve. So this L-1 should be reaching to the work list. L-2 should reach, sorry, CB-1, all these work object ID should be available in work list. Am I correct? Come on,
Yes.
it should be there, right? In that scenario, what will be the first item for me? Even I'm giving you some time also. These are
Latest one.
2 times. Latest one and is
HP.
HB-1,
HB1.
HB-1. Below which something like CB-1. Below which LP-1. Below which Leave-1. Am I correct? Okay, so what are we understanding is in particular work list or work basket, items will be sorted as per the creation time. So the recently created one is somewhere displaying at the top. So if this is the scenario, there might be scenarios where some important items getting delayed. What do you mean by important item? Suppose if I'm the manager logging at like 6 p.m. If I'm trying to check for work list, I'll see maybe 4 items now. I have to open the first item and I have to approve it, right? Maybe reject whatever it is, I have to work on it. If I'm trying to open this one, I have to check for this person for how much amount he's claiming for. Okay, and earlier for how much amount he has taken, what is the total budget as per this quarter amount. Okay, so some things I have to compare and I have to check for the attachments, everything perfect or not. Then only I'll approve it, right? So this approval alone might take like 30 minutes time for me. I have to verify everything. It might take 30 minutes time. So if this is the scenario, maybe my log off time, I have to log off for the day. So what happened? So only this alone will be completed. So this will be removed even from a work list. So if that is the case, so the cab request or like laptop request, which are like more important. So cab request is still pending. So this person is trying to avail cab for that day and manager is not approving it for some reason. So if that is the case, this is getting delayed, right? This is getting delayed. So hotel bill related, it's not that important to approve today itself. So out of all these 4, there will be some priority. So maybe cab request must be of or laptop request must be of high priority. So how delay we do for laptop request, our work also will be getting delayed, right? So laptop request should be given highest priority. Maybe cab request might be like next high priority. Maybe leave request might be like third. This might be fourth. So here, if I can make items arranged as per some priority, it will be easy for a work list or work basket to manage the data. So if it is simply sorted as per the creation time, So the recent unwanted one, which is coming at the top, so which is of no use for us, which is of no use. So how to set some priority for each and every item, that is one thing what we have to know. Okay, so here for laptop or leave request, we can give 7 days time. This is not that high priority. And for laptop request, we have to give only 2 hours time. So maybe for cab request, maybe hardly 4 hours time. For hotel bill, we can give 30 days time also. Each and every item, whenever it is routed, no doubt it has to be given with some urgency. Okay, based on which only some kind of sorting should happen. So we are supposed to understand something kind of urgency or priority. So consider this cab request is given only 2 hours time. Okay, now manager should complete it in 2 hours, right? If he's not completing. If he's not completing, what should happen? So this request is given some kind of time interval, but this is not completed. So in that scenario, once the given goal time is completed, if task is still pending, there must be some kind of escalations. Am I correct? There has to be some kind of escalations. Now let us understand what can be the possible escalations. If I'm normal team member and if you are my manager, I applied leave today, it must be approved generally in 24 hours. You are not doing it. So system should check whether creation time and goal time is completed or not. So if it is completed, it has to do an escalation like sending a reminder mail for you. And from there, it might wait till next 24 hours. So even after that, if your task is not completed, it might do second round of escalation by sending an email to your reporting manager. So it might wait still for next 2 days or 1 day. Even by the time if your task is not complete, system has to check for third level of escalation. It might be like an auto approval. So there can be some escalations after some periodic intervals. Okay, so here just to go for urgency increasing or just to do some kind of escalations. Okay, so we are having one rule called SLA. What is the full form?
Service level agreement.
Service level agreement. So now we are talking about our new discussion, that is service level agreement. So SLA is a rule which is to be generally or mostly called on assignment ships. So whenever any assignment is launched, so no doubt routing will be taken care internally. So this SLA will start. Whenever assignment is started, SLA will start. And SLA will check for this particular assignment how much due date is what we are giving, how much time is what we are giving. So here, no doubt there will be some kind of intervals, right? So maybe initially 2 hours. If it is not completed, do some kind of escalation. So maybe next interval might be like 10 hours. If it is failed, do some kind of escalations. So next one, maybe 3 days, do some kind of escalations. SLA is a rule. Mostly we will call it on assignment shape, where we will be defining some kind of time intervals and based on which some kind of escalations what to be happening. So now we'll talk about like SLA. So SLA rule will be having three major time intervals. Okay, SLA rule will be having three major time intervals. So the first interval we call it as goal interval. Next one we call it as deadline interval. And next one we call it as past deadline interval. Getting my point? So we'll be having only three time intervals. So if this is my flow rule, okay, and if I'm trying to apply a leave exactly at 9 o'clock, okay, I clicked on a button called apply leave exactly at 9 o'clock. So screen number 1 is what I will access. So there I'll try to give some details like leave start date, leave end date, type of leave, reason for leave, whatever it is. And for next 30 minutes, I'm working on the same screen. Now, if I click on submit button, assignment 2 is routed for some person like Ravi, and which is started at like 9:30, right? And here SLA rule is what we generally call. So in this SLA rule, if I define time as 2 hours. So then tell me what will be the clock time now? Is 9:30 అయితే. Within 2 hours it has to be completed, meaning what will be the clock time for the completion?
7:30.
So it should be, okay, ఇంకా simple గా we'll make it as 4 p.m. అనుకోండి. Somewhere 3 p.m. start అయింది. Okay, so this is like launched at 4 p.m. Okay, now tell me what will be the clock time?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. So SLA rule is completely waiting for 2 hours whenever this assignment is started, whenever this SLA is started. So it will completely check whether this C-1, okay, so this is completed from this assignment level or not. So till 6 p.m. it will wait. If it is not completed by 6 p.m., I can do two things here. We can do two things. So first thing is we can make this priority increased. Priority in the sense, each and every item will be given some priority in terms of number. Suppose if I just open any portal, user portal or manager portal, generally you can see work object IDs showing in the work list, right? And each and every item will be given by default some urgency number. So you can see urgency number something as 10. So urgency number will be between 0 to 100. 100 meaning high priority, 0 meaning least priority. Okay, so by default, every flow rule, whatever the item it is generating, it is setting urgency for that as 10. So maybe if I'm having 4 different flow rules as I spoke earlier. So maybe leave request, laptop request, cab request, and hotel bill request. So this laptop request is of very high priority, very high priority. So whenever we run the case, by default, if we can set it urgency as something like 25, by default for everything, for C-1, for L-1, everything it is showing 10, 10, 10, right? Every flow rule is setting something, its property value as 10. No doubt in its parent data transform, it might be hard-coded as 10 somewhere. Now, for this particular one, if I can change this to something like 25, then irrespective of the creation time, it will be showing at the top. Okay, so this item, maybe consider this one. You can see this item, right? So if this item is having urgency as 25 or at least 11, so it will be showing at the top irrespective of its creation time. So every time sorting will happen based on the urgency, not on the creation time. If urgency is same for all the items, then creation time comes into picture. Okay, fine. So now, if after this goal time is completed, as I told you, SLA rule can do two things. That is, it can increase the priority, it can increase the urgency. So if I make urgency as something 30, so it is still getting prioritized and it will be moving somewhere to the top of the work list, right? So here urgency can be increased. That is one thing. Second thing here is it can do some escalations. Escalations can be running a data transform or an activity or sending an email notifying, whatever it might be. I'll show you all these things. So once urgency is getting increased, maybe once some escalation is done, it is coming to the next phase, next time interval. So maybe next time interval, I'll give something like 3 hours. So now tell me what should be the clock time? What should be the clock time? Chipali.
9.
9 p.m., right? So this we are starting at like 4 p.m. and initial time interval we gave it as 2 hours. So it will be like 6 p.m. no doubt. So by 6 p.m. item should be completed. It's not completed. It is coming to the next phase. So in deadline phase, we are giving it as 3 hours. 3 hours meaning, so you might be thinking about like 9 p.m. So that is 6 p.m. plus 3 hours. But actual answer is, so 4 p.m. plus 3 hours, that is 7 p.m. Okay, 7 p.m. What are you understanding? Goal time is calculated based on whenever your SLA is started. Am I correct? Deadline time is calculated even whenever your SLA is started. So now here it is like 7 p.m. Maybe here, if you define it as 2 hours, then your output will be 6 p.m. Maybe if you are defining this as 1 hour, your output should be 5 p.m. So 5 p.m. So giving deadline time as 5 p.m. and goal as 6 p.m. Is that correct? Maybe if I give you some task and asking you to complete it in 1 week. So tomorrow itself, if I'm doing some escalation, is that correct? No, right? No. So system will not accept you giving deadline time lesser than goal time. So goal and deadline can be equal. And deadline time, no doubt, it should be greater than goal. Okay, it should be greater than or equal to. Why? Because deadline time and goal time both are calculated based on this SLA start time. Okay, so now the best combination or the appropriate one can be, I can give here it as 3 hours. In that scenario, clock time will be what? 7 p.m. So till 7 p.m. So we are trying to maintain in the second phase. Even by 7 p.m., if item is not completed, then again I can do two things. That is, urgency can be incremented, and the other one is kind of escalation. So I'll do something like urgency, some increased to 40. So something much. And some kind of escalation, and you can do some kind of rule execution also. Okay. So even by 7 p.m. item is not completed, urgency will be increased and maybe sending an email to other persons, whatever. Next, it is coming to the third phase. So in third phase, I can give some time. Maybe if I give it as 4 hours. Okay, if I give it as 4 hours. Now tell me what will be the clock time? What will be the clock time? Chapali.
11,
Isn't it?
11 p.m.
11 p.m. Then 11 p.m. How are you saying it as 11 p.m.? You might be calculating 7 plus 4. Am I correct? Yes,
Yes,
or is this not like 8 plus 8, 8 p.m.? Sorry, 4 plus 4, is that not 8 p.m.? What might be the answer between these two? Is it like 8 p.m. or 11 p.m.?
11 p.m.
11 a.m. Okay, so what you're supposed to understand is this is 11 p.m. only. So goal deadline, these two are calculated based on your SLA started time. And past deadline will be calculated after your deadline is completed. This will be relying on the above value. So it will be like 4 p.m. So till 4 p.m. item has to wait or SLA has to wait. Still, if item is not completed, again it will do some kind of urgency. Again, it will do some kind of escalation. Some kind of escalation. So consider here I'm trying to do urgency as maybe 10. Okay, initially, whenever you run the case, you are seeing urgency as 10, right? Am I correct? Now, if I give urgency as 10, what will happen? So till 4 o'clock, urgency will be 10. And at 6 o'clock, urgency will be increased by 10, which will be 20 now. So this is nothing but adding to the existing one, which will be adding. So urgency will be 20. And here there can be an escalation of running an activity. Consider running an activity, sending an email. Okay. And at 7 p.m., even task is not completed. So I'm giving urgency as 20. Earlier it was like 20, right? Now 20 plus 20, 40 should be the urgency. And here urgency can be or escalation can be. So running and flow rule. So running and flow rule meaning if this leave is not approved, maybe till 7 p.m. So there will be one main manager from our level, right? So this is like team member, this is like manager. Or you think he might be having another manager, right? So here, if any leave is not approved after deadline phase, our main manager should be having one ticket raised at his work list level. So consider I'm the main manager. I'm the main manager. If everything is running smooth, no worries. So if after deadline phase, if some of our managers are not approving it, so there must be something raised like TK-1 in my work list. So this is my work list. So there will be one ticket raised for kind of. If I click on that TK-1, I have to get a screen saying like, So this work object ID is not being approved after this time. That is what the acknowledgement related screen is what I have to get. So this is one requirement. So for that, what are we doing? So after this, you can run a flow rule. First, you are supposed to create a flow rule. And this particular flow rule can be routed to a main manager. So, and this can have the capacity to generate work object prefix as tk-1. So immediately flow will be executed and it will be routed to this person. And on click of this, same item will be opened. That's it. So escalations can be anything. Here, consider I'm running an activity as escalation. Here we are running a flow rule. Okay, once flow execution is done, it is coming to the next phase, right? And here we are giving time till 4 hours, that is 11 p.m. And urgency, I'm trying to make it as 30. Earlier, I think it was like 40. Now at 11 p.m., urgency will be increased by 30, which will be 70. And escalation wise, maybe I'm trying to run a data transform to set late fee is equal to 10%. Okay, some extra calculations is what we're doing. Late fees is equal to 10%. So even after 11 p.m., if task is not completed, then what? There will not be any further time intervals. SLA will have only these three. So even after the last time interval, if task is not completed, what can be the next possible scenario? For this, PRPC is giving some extra option of looping this third interval, that is deadline. So we call it as limit. So there will be one text box above which, where here I can give limit as 2 or 3 or 4 according to that. Consider if I give it as 3, what will happen? This particular past deadline scenario will be looped for 3 times. So first time, it is waiting till 11 p.m. and increase the urgency by 30. Maybe 70 is like total urgency. And late fee is like 10%. Okay, 10%. Maybe 1,000 rupees is what he has to pay. So it is added with 10% and maybe 1100. Maybe 1100 in this case. Fine. Still at 11 o'clock item is not completed, right? So SLA rule is having 2 more retries. So what it will do? It will wait for 1 more attempt. So that is again after 4 hours. 11 p.m. is 4 hours until 3 a.m. So maybe 3 a.m. At 3 a.m. also, it will try to increase from 70 to, it will be increased to 30, which might be 100. And again, the same escalation should be done. So which will be adding like 10 more percentage. So something like 11, whatever it might. Or 12, 12, 1, 1.
ఇట్రా
Okay.
ఇట్రా ఆటో అక్కడ లేదు ఇక్కడ
Maybe this one. Okay. So even after this second limit, item is not completed, right?
ఫస్ట్ ఇగో
Next,
ఇట్రా ఇద్దా
please go.
ఇది తాగు ఇస్తా కాటో
Okay. So even after at like 3 a.m., task is not completed and SLA rule has got 1 more limit for past deadline. So maybe for 4 more hours. And maybe 7 a.m. 4 hours and consider 7 a.m. Consider 7 a.m. So at 7 a.m. also it has to do some kind of escalation. Urgency has to be still increased by 30. So earlier it was like 100, now adding 30. But as I earlier told you, limit will be from 0 to 100 only. It will be truncated or limited to 100 max. Okay. So final urgency will be 100 only. And it will be still increasing 10% out of it. Okay. So in this way, we can able to increase the number of limits. Fine. Even after third limit, if task is not completed. Even after third limit, if task is not completed, then system cannot do anything much. So what it will do is it will try to show the item available in the same work list and it will show due date as pending from 25 days or 100 days or 360 days or 700 days. In this way, item will be showing as per due date and it will be showing every time at that top. It will be showing every time at that top. Fine. So here manager could not able to complete this first item, maybe for some reason. Maybe for some reason, maybe if he's trying to open this and it is saying like every time something went wrong, or maybe that candidate has resigned by that time, whatever it might be, item is still not completed and it is available in the work list. So this has to be removed as part of cleanliness exercises. So as I earlier told you, every year, maybe in terms of November or December, some kind of maintenance related activities will be executed. So our client will give us one requirement saying like all the work object IDs which are still pending where due date greater than 200 days, delete it completely. This is what they might tell you. So if this is the requirement given, now tell me what you do. So now my question here is, you are supposed to identify all the work object items which are pending from more than 200 days. Okay, you are supposed to delete it. So tell me what you will do. Shikhar?
OBJ browses the due date property base.
An activity. So what is the step one you wanted to go? OBJ browse. From what class?
Work class.
Work class, huh? Sure. Work
Yeah.
class. Now, work class will have all the work object items. It might be completed or pending. So I wanted to deal only with the pending work object IDs, pending work object data, where it will be maintained, in what table, what is the instance class of all pending assignments.
SN dash work
SN dash work list.
work list.
So earlier చెప్పాను కదా. So
Yeah.
if this is your flow rule, if something is like work list routing, what will happen? So maybe if I'm running the case, C-1 might be generated. So which will be maintained in my work table. Okay. So the first assignment maybe worked by something like Rahul. So now system, what it has to do, it has to maintain that assignment information in another table, that is PC underscore, SN underscore work list. Okay, here, what is the primary key? What is the primary key?
PXF object.
Object key, which will be nothing but
PYID.
it's PZ key, not PYD. It's PZ key will be maintained here. Okay, and it will be showing like pending with Rahul, so and so assignment number 1. Avuna kada? Now,
Yeah.
whenever Rahul is completing this, then what should happen? Item should be reaching here. So again, same PZ key, maybe assignment number 2, and which might be routed to Ravi. So here, this Ravi item will be in Ravi's work list. Ravi could not open that and could not complete for some reason. So it is pending here from past many days, maybe 1 year or so. So now as part of cleanliness, so you are supposed to delete all such pending related things, right? It's not from work table, it is from this SN-work list table, or it might be from SN-work basket table, if it is like multi-operator routed. Okay, so you will be generally doing this with in terms of job scheduler. Job scheduler, I'll talk about this later. So for now, you should understand all the pending items will be available in what table, and maybe in terms of escalations. Got it right?
Yeah.
Okay. So goal, deadline, pass and deadline. So these two are getting started based on SLA creation time. So this is getting started after your deadline phase is reached, and you got an option to increase urgency at every of these 3 levels. So this urgency, we call it as goal urgency. This we call it as deadline urgency. This we call it as past deadline urgency. Past deadline urgency. Now with this knowledge, let us open any SLA rule, or let us create new SLA rule and check for some observations there. And there, what are all the extra options we see, and how to correlate our scenarios also, we'll try to check that. So SLA is a rule which will be under process category. So this is the navigation to create one SLA. Maybe I'm giving some random name. Okay, create and open. Okay, so this is how your SLA rule will be looking like. So where, as I told you, you'll see 3 intervals: goal, deadline, and past deadline. So only past deadline will be having some number of limits to be increased. So you will not see these text boxes maybe at goal level or deadline level. And here you can see goal time. This time interval starts, maybe if I give test 2 hours. So this time interval starts whenever an assignment is created. Okay. Whenever an assignment is created, your goal time will start. That is what it is clearly stated. So whenever time interval is started, even deadline also will start. And past deadline, this time interval starts when deadline is completed. This is what the observation. Okay, after deadline is done, it will be calculating the time. Suppose if I give task 2 hours and amount as maybe 10 and some kind of escalations. As I told you, you will see n number of escalations. Maybe like running a data transform, running a flow rule, advancing the flow rule, notifying SNE, all these things. So generally, we'll be mostly running like activity. We'll be mostly running like activity. So I'll tell you maybe few scenarios for now. Maybe when we're working practically, you'll come to much. So let me give you one small example. Let me give you an example that is, so consider the same flow. So I'm trying to apply leave. So screen number 1 will be assigned to me. Screen number 2 will be routed to my manager. Okay, so 9 o'clock is what I'm trying to run this. And 1 hour I worked on. So 10 o'clock it is like routed to my manager. So now my manager should work this in 1 hour itself. So for that goal, what are you supposed to give? Goal as 1 hour. So meaning by 11 AM, he should complete it. So if he is opening his work list, so he can see this work object item. So something like assignment to edo kanpista. So he can click on this one, he can open it, he can complete it. That is what expected to be done in 1 hour. So maybe if it is like crossing 1 hour. So what I wanted to do is, so after 1 hour, manager, if he is trying to open that, he should get something displayed as case session is closed. That's it. Or something like case is routed. Okay, I have to show some information or some message for him. So maybe between 10 to 11 o'clock, he has to get some kind of design. Some kind of design and approved by, approved date. So some information is what he can see. After 11 o'clock, instead of displaying all these things, there must be something displayed as, so sorry, session expired. Okay, or session expired and complete ga. Don't think like session, timer and request related session, some kind of message. So please provide the reason for delaying. That is what the extra thing I wanted to display, nothing much. I wanted to hide all these things. I want to display one text area asking for the reason for delay. Okay, so for that, what we'll do? So you are supposed to design one section here, right? Where you will be including a drop down like approved by, and you'll include maybe a calendar field like approved date. Maybe these two are for happy path. So below itself, I can include one text area, maybe asking for reason. So, you know, these two to be displayed initially in 1 hour. This must be displayed after 1 hour. After 1 hour, how to implement this? So no doubt this, for this you have to apply some visibility condition. For these two things, you'll apply some visibility condition. So I can create a property like ABC. If ABC is equal to true, I might apply visibility and display this. Same if ABC equal to false, I have to display this. So point here is after 1 hour, how to make ABC value true or false. That is the challenge. Exactly after 1 hour, I have to make this as false. Initially, it has to be set as true. So whenever this assignment is launched in the pre-processing, I can make this flag as true. So this will be displayed. So till 1 hour, there should not be any change. After 1 hour, if I have to display this one, no doubt this flag must be turned to false, right? So how to make a property value turn to false exactly after 1 hour? Tell me anyone. What you will do in this scenario? What you can try in this case? Exactly after 1 hour, I have to do something. So no doubt there must be some data transform to be executed, right? Generally for property setting. So where and how to run this data transform? That is the part. So generally, if I ask this question, I have seen many people talking about like agents or maybe job schedulers or something different, batch process. So their batch processings will not be having some specified time generally. Suppose if I give it as clock time, so every day on the clock time will be executed, but from creation, it has to be executed in 30 seconds or maybe 1 hour. This has to be done only with SLA rule. So you are supposed to go for an SLA rule, and in this case, you'll be going for a data transform execution. And in the data transform, you'll make this flag as false. That's it. So exactly at 11 o'clock, as I told you, goal time will be completed. Data transform will be executed. This flag will be turned to false. Automatically, he'll be getting the second message. Understood this scenario? Got it, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So this is one thing. So consider one more example. So maybe after your goal time is completed, as I earlier told you, so there must be one high level manager. So for him, there must be one ticket raised. For that escalation here can be like running a flow rule, right? So you must first create a flow rule, and you have to design that, and then you have to implement some kind of routing part, and you have to take care of what should be the work object prefix, and internally what design. Flow rule creation is nothing new for us, and you can call that flow rule maybe after some goal time. That is what you have to do from here. So this is one thing. And sometimes scenarios will be same. That is, if it is routed to a manager, consider I'm the manager. So item will be available in my work list, right? I'm supposed to open that and I have to complete it generally. Complete it. So if it is not completed in some given time, I have to provide some justification. So justification not in the same screen. I have to provide justification and then I have to proceed further. So justification should be available as like a local action. Suppose if I open this item after my goal time, if I open any single item after some goal time, okay. Here, if I click on actions, I must see some new screen saying like provide justification for the delay. That is what some extra screen I have to give. So within goal time, nothing should be displayed. After my goal is completed, I have to show some extra screen. So from here, one new window will be launched. I can type my justification. After submitting it, it will come back to your original connector flow action. So all these things we clearly earlier understood, right? So you should understand they're calling an advanced flow, nothing but you have to go for a flow action. So this is nothing but included as a local action. Understanding, Kada? Everyone? Okay, so it's very clear how to go for data transform, how to go for flow rule, how to go for an advanced flow. So maybe if my requirement is, even after goal time, if task is not completed, I wanted to notify this person by sending an email. Okay, you wanted to notify this person by sending an email. So if you wanted to send an email, we know maybe two things, that is with smart shapes or maybe with OOTP activities, right? So if I'm trying to go with those, so I have to take care of what should be the subject. I have to take care of what should be the maybe to address. Okay, email account to address, maybe from address and body. So these four are generally mandated, right? So even if from address related password kuda. Generally, if I wanted to send an email, so no doubt you have to receive an email with so and so subject. From some two address also. From address will be there, password will be there, body will be there. Remaining other things might not be that important every time. So for this, I can simply go for notify an assignee. If I use notify assignee and if I click on save, my task is completed. Seriously, my task is completed. So after 2 hours, the concerned person will get an email. So are we getting any option to select the subject? Are we getting any option to decide what should be the to address, what should be the from address, body or password? No. Then in that scenario, for whom mail will be triggered, from what mail will be triggered, and subject and other things, how it will be decided? How it will be decided? So for that, from address will be decided based on the assignment for whom it is routed. For whom it is routed. So if this is routed to an operator, it will be pulling out that operator's email ID. Maybe if this is given like in work basket routing. So, multiple operators will be connected to one team, which is also called work group. From there, a work basket will be connected. If an item is routed to a work basket, and after goal time, if you wanted to notify an assignee, for whom the mail will be triggered? If it is like single person routing, no doubt mail will be triggered for that person alone. And if this assignment is work basket routing, and if it is having one SLA rule, and maybe after goal time, if you are giving it as notify assignee, so for whom mail will be triggered? So this is like work basket where HR1, HR2 or HR3 are connected. So for all these three, sending an email is not correct. Or only for one single person target, it is also not correct. So what will happen is every team or work group will have one manager connected. Okay. Maybe if I'm opening my own operator ID. So there will be a team, right? Earlier, we even understood how to create new teams also. So if you open any team, so there will be one high level manager connected. So whatever the manager name defined here, for that person mail will be triggered. So finally, we are understanding what will be the to address and what about the remaining content. What about the remaining content? So every time you will be getting one standard email. Okay, so subject will be standard, to address, everything will be standard. I'll show you that emails also. Okay, so case crossed goal. Okay, I'll show you that. Maybe after I showing you, then you'll clearly understand. So for this, it will be using some OOTB correspondences, and it will be using some OOTB field values and some kind of OOTB email accounts. Or if you wanted to go for your own email account, that can be possible. So based on the PZNS key, it will be identifying instance class, all these things. Okay, fine. So I'll show you this practically also. So if it is like notify assignee, it will be doing the same for his reporting manager. If it is like notify assignee, it will be doing some reporting manager. Okay. So if I'm using notify assignee, as I told you, background, all these things will be automatically done, right? Meaning calling an email account, calling an correspondence loop, and other things. All these things are automatically done by an OOTB activity called PY notify assignee on goal time. This is one OOTB activity. So maybe if you are going for notifying manager, so similar OOTB activity executed by doing all these things automated. Okay, so these things here. And similarly, if you wanted to automatically approve this in the sense automatically routing or transferring this item to the next concerned person. So you can go for transfer item, or you can run an activity, you can notify the respective party, all this. So all these are options what we are seeing as part of escalations. So you'll see the same in goal, you'll see the same maybe at deadline or even at past deadline. So you can even have multiple escalations also, not just a single. So the first one is to notify an assignee, maybe the next one is to run a data transform. And you can have one thing more also. And maybe after your goal time is completed. So as I told you, escalation will be increased by 10. It's not rounded to 10. It will be increased by 10. Whatever the value it might be having currently, it will be added up. And it will be doing some escalations, whatever you are doing. Next, it will be coming to the deadline phase, where if I give it as 2 hours or maybe 3 hours, from assignment creation time, it will calculate maybe assignment creation time, if it is like 4 p.m. So here deadline to be like 7 p.m. in this case. And if I give some urgency, maybe like 40, it will be added by 40 now. If it is like earlier 20, now 40, total it will be 60. And it will do the same type of escalations, whatever you are defining, and that on conditional basis. Okay. If you don't want to check for any condition for escalation, ignore this when. Okay. And similarly, past deadline. So in past deadline also, I can define some kind of time intervals, and you can go for some extra limits based on which amount of urgency will be increased, and escalations, whatever you are defining, it will be also looped for those many times. It will be also looped for those many times. Okay, fine. So now let us understand few scenarios. So within which when to use these options, when to use these checkboxes, when to use these options. So I'll try to give you first a scenario in terms of examples. Then I'll explain you what is the importance of each option. So consider if you are trying to run a floor, or in your office, if you're trying to apply for a leave. So maybe first one is what I'll try to work on. Next one is routed to my manager. And here there is one SLA rule where you are defining goal as maybe 2 hours. That's it. So maybe like morning 9 o'clock, if I'm trying to apply leave, manager should complete by 11 o'clock. That is what expected. So maybe if I'm trying to apply leave, maybe like Sunday midnight. Okay, and it will be going for my manager. Manager should approve it in that same midnight for the next 2 hours, right? So that is what actually expected, or that is what actual design is. So if this is the scenario, if in 2 hours, if item is not completed, doing some escalations, is that really correct? Is that really correct? No, right? So no. So you are trying to do something in the non-business hours and expecting that work to be completed in non-business hours and doing escalations is not correct. It is not correct. So in that scenario, what we can do is we can simply mark this checkbox. So if I mark this checkbox, what happens is, so this particular SLA on what assignment it is called, and this is routed for whom. So that particular person's working hours is what system will check for. Okay, calculate only business days, right? So business days meaning my working hours and my manager working hours can be different. Maybe if I'm working in production support, my working hours might be, or maybe I'll be having Wednesday and Thursday as holidays. My manager can have Saturday and Sundays as holidays. So Sunday is like working day for me. I'll try to apply leave, but it is not working out for my manager, right? So this is going for manager's approval. He has to get some business hours calculated. So for that, system will check respect to operators business hours as defined here. Each and every operator will have something like business calendar. So by default, it will be like US default. And here it is showing as Monday to Friday, morning 8 to 5. This is like working hours showing up. And additional holidays also. And if our working hours are different, you are supposed to save as this rule and you have to change the timings accordingly. As per my manager's business hours, this will be working on. This has to be working on. Okay, fine. So maybe I'm trying to apply this on Wednesday afternoon 2 p.m. So which is like working out for me as well as for my manager. So in that case, no doubt manager has to complete it in 2 hours, right? That is like 4 p.m. So consider my manager is on scheduled long leave. So he is not available from past 1 week. This is not like unplanned leave. This is scheduled leave. So in that scheduled leave, if a task is routed and if he's not doing escalations, it is not correct, right? So it is not correct. So then in that scenario, what we have to do is for the respect to manager, if this is your manager operator ID. So if your manager is defining his unscheduled absence, or scheduled absence, maybe from start date to end date. So this period also will be considered as non-working hours for you. Okay, non-business hours for you. In that scenario, any kind of SLA rule or escalations will not properly work. So marking this checkbox, what is it doing? So it is trying to check for the respective persons related calendar and going further. So this is the importance of that. This checkbox option will be there for all the three, for goal, deadline, and past deadline. So this is one scenario. Okay, so scenario here is to explain that importance of the checkbox. Fine. So let me tell you one more important scenario. So you people, please try to answer this. So now I'm a bank employee. Okay, where generally I'll try to register for credit cards. Okay, so if this is the user portal and I'll say something like click here to register for credit card. That is what the button I'm seeing. On click of this button, I'll be getting screen number 1 and maybe screen number 2. Maybe screen number 1 is what I'll get. Screen number 2, my manager should approve. This is kind of approval. So background, there must be a floral with 2 assignment shapes, right? So this is like current operator. This is like manager. This is like manager. So now as a bank employee in screen number 1, I'm collecting customer first name, customer last name, customer income. So now if customer income, if it is something like maybe 2 lakh to 5 lakh per year is considered as basic customer. So maybe 5 lakh to 10 lakh is considered as maybe like gold customer. So maybe 10 lakh to 50 lakh or 15 lakh is considered as platinum customer. Consider this is the scenario. So now for customer number 1, maybe I'm having 3 customers standing in the queue in front of me. So for customer number 1, C-1 will be the work object ID, right? So in that scenario, I'm collecting his income as maybe 3 lakh. So after I submitting it, then I'll simply ask him to wait for the manager's approval. If this is like manager related, manager will get C-1 item routed. And second employee C-2, third one C-3. Okay. So now requirement here is this approval should be completed. Okay, you're supposed to define one SLA rule here. This approval should be completed maybe in 1 hour. What you'll do? So in this SLA rule, you'll straight away come here and define maybe goal as 1 hour, right? 1 hour, meaning approval will be completed, should be completed for all these 3 persons in 1 hour from the creation time. Now, extra scenario is if customer is basic, we can approve him in 24 hours. We are having some time to approve. And maybe if it is like gold customer, it must be approved in 6 hours. And if it is platinum customer, manager approval should be completed in 1 hour only. So in that scenario, goal is something not fixed. So goal here, it can be 1 hour, maybe 6 hours, maybe 24 hours. Now tell me how to handle this scenario. How to handle this scenario?
Circumstance the SLA rule.
Circumstance the
SLA rule.
SLA rule. Okay, so this SLA rule, you'll call it here. Ante kada? So circumstancing based on what?
Type of customer.
Type of
Sorry, income. Yeah.
type of customer. So what is the base version you'll take now?
24 hours.
Maybe you'll consider 1 as the base one and
Yes.
2 might be like circumstancing 1 or 2. Okay. So likewise, if I'm having n number of such scenarios, so you are supposed to create an SLA rule and behaving should be n number kabatti circumstancing instances also will be more. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Circumstancing also will be more. So instead of this complicated design, okay, so you can achieve this, but this will be little complicated compared to the other option, what I'm trying to say. So instead of you making this level of complicated design, so PRPC is giving some option to define directly here. So here for go level, I can see some hard coded numbering part. So which is not fixed for me in this case. In that scenario, you should see like set the value of an property. That is what you are saying. So if I'm trying to select this, what is happening? Whatever the hard coded content earlier it was like showing, even for this, those are completely disabled, right? There is no hard coding concept now. So the if I'm selecting some drop down value like property here at goal time, only property reference is what I have to give. Even at deadline time also, it will accept only property reference. And for past deadline, this will not be affected. You can straight away hard code whatever you want. So this drop down setting will be applicable for goal and deadline only in this case. Now I'm selecting a property. So no doubt I have to give some property reference, which will be only of date time, which will be type of date type. So if I click on dot, you'll not get all the properties related. You'll not see text typed or Boolean type, only date type related. So here I can use some property one, maybe activation date as one property. I can create it and I have to call it. And something like escalation date, whatever it. So what we are supposed to do here is after screen number one, you can go for some data transform execution, maybe the post processing also. In data transform, what you can do is you can go for when condition. So when income is between 2 lakh to 5 lakh, 1.1 set dot activation date. This is the property what we are trying to use it here, right? Dot activation date is equal to @add calendar. Antena? So current server time plus somewhere 24 hours is what you have to define. Meta one is 0 set. Okay, 1.2 set dot escalation time, maybe the second property, whatever it might be. So which is equal to maybe a discussion later. Let's stop it at this point. And you will be adding one more when condition. This will be like otherwise when. Otherwise when, if it is between 5 lakh to 10 lakh, same 2.1, same property. Set dot activation date is equal to add calendar current server time plus 6 hours. And straight away we'll go for otherwise. Need not add any extra when condition also. So otherwise, so you can go for set so and so with current server time plus 1 hour. So can't we run this data transform? Can't we prepare one data transform? We can do this. After you submitting this, what will happen? If customer income is so and so, then in clipboard, we'll be having this property value may be added by 24 hours. Maybe in second customer case, it will be showing it as maybe 6 hours. Property value added with 6 hours. So likewise, whenever we come to screen number 2, that property value will be something current server time plus 24 hours. Kada? So if this property value, when it is reaching to the current server time, in bracket lemuntundi, current server time plus 6 hours ante, or 24 hours ante, maybe today is like January 1st ankondi. So by January 2nd, it has to be completed, right? So and so time. So whenever this property reference value is equal to the current server time, it might be after 6 hours or 10 hours. So automatically, if both are same, our goal time is completed. That's it. If goal is completed, it will do its respect to escalations and it has to do its respect to urgency values incremented. And similarly, whenever this time interval, okay, whatever the time you are defining, if this is equal to our current server time, even our deadline time is completed. According to that, you can do some kind of escalations or urgency increment. So this kind of property setting will not be applicable for past deadlines. So this will be applicable only for these two things. Okay, only for these two things. Fine. Now I'll talk about one more small scenario. So where you'll understand importance of this part also. Okay, so consider so today is Monday. So I created few work object IDs, C-1, C-2, maybe C-5. Okay. all these work object IDs may be after created, it has to be completed in 2 hours itself. For everything same kabatti, you can define goal as 2 hours, right? Okay, you can define simply goal as 2 hours. So maybe if this is our flow rule, so somewhere I'm calling on SLA rule, and this is like about manager's approval. I'm talking about manager's approval. So manager is like available now, and once real user completing this first screen, so it will be added in manager's work list, and it will be added in second manager's work list. All these 5 will be added to manager's work list. He must complete it in 2 hours. This is what. So maybe our manager might not be available every time with us. So sometimes he will be available maybe weekly once, and sometimes he will be available daily once. Maybe sometimes he will be available for every 1 hour. What might be the scenario? Based on his availability, I wanted to give 2 hours time from there on. Suppose if manager is available maybe after 48 hours generally. So in that scenario, don't give goal time as 50 hours. So this should be 2 hours only. This time may be generally depending upon. So you are supposed to delay your SLA rule as per the time factor, whatever you are defining. So by default, SLA rule is given as immediately in the sense whenever your assignment is started. So in this case, maybe if this is started at 3 o'clock and assignment 2 might be reaching at 4 o'clock, right? So this SLA also started at 4 o'clock. So from here, you are trying to calculate further. So instead, if I can select some other option, maybe time delayed. Here, if I give time delay as 24 hours, then what will happen? So maybe this is January 1st, 4 p.m. item is like executed. And our SLA will start after 24 hours, that is January 2nd, 4 p.m. So whenever it is started, from there on 2 hours it will take. It's not like 2 hours from whenever the assignment created. It's like 2 hours from whenever SLA started. By default, we'll make it as immediately. That is the reason mostly we'll discuss or understand. This is based on this assignment creation. But ideally speaking, so this is calculated based on your SLA start time, which will be by default as initial. If you are giving some time there, so your SLA will be delayed according to that, and based on which goal times and everything will be working on. And even you can delay this based on some property reference also. So if I choose this one, I have to define some property. So if this property value is equal to our current server time, then SLA will start. And if this property is equal to current server time, goal is complete. And if this property value is equal to, current server time, deadline is complete. So in this way, we are trying to understand when an SLA should start. Okay, when an SLA should start. And what are all the options in terms of hard-coded values, maybe in terms of immediate, in terms of property reference. And you are understanding some kind of goal-related options also. Okay, and even deadline and past deadline. And we have to understand 3 important other scenarios. So for that, this SLA rule after we creating, from where we are supposed to call? So we are creating one SLA rule, right? So ultimately from where we have to call this? No doubt assignment shape is what we are thinking, Adam.
Yes.
Okay, so you can call this SLA rule even from other places also. So where we'll call this SLA rule that we have to? So consider if this is like credit card related flow. So I'm a bank employee. So if I'm trying to register a customer, one work object ID getting generated. So maybe screen 1 is what I'll take care. Next one may be my manager. Next one may be my additional manager. Next one something like high level manager. So once it is reaching to the end shape, so complete work object ID is resolved. So now our scenario here is this work object ID whenever it is created. So from there, maybe in 15 days, whole process should be closed. So that is one limitation. And our manager 1, whenever he is approving, so he must complete the item in just 2 hours. And this manager must complete the item in 3 hours itself. And next level manager, he will be very busy. He will be completing the item in 4 hours itself. What are you understanding? We are trying to set time intervals at every level. So there is one time interval set at this assignment level, right? So meaning you have to call one SLA rule and you have to create one SLA rule and call this on assignment number 2. And so this particular assignment also has got some different time intervals, meaning you have to create different SLA rule and call it here. So you have to create different SLA rule and call it here. And there is one time interval to be checking for entire flow rule, meaning it must be reaching to the end shape by the time. That's what it will check. So there will be one more SLA rule defined, maybe goal as 15 days. Here goal as 4 hours, here goal as 3 hours. So SLA rule can be called even at flow rule level. That is what you have to. So if I'm trying to open any assignment sheet, so open this case types. Okay, so let me open any single flow rule for now and show you. I'm trying to open any flow rule. If I double click on any assignment shape, okay, if you double click on any assignment shape, you'll see something called SLA. So you can create SLA rule separately and call it here. That is one application, one point where we generally use, apply this. And this is entire flow rule, right? So if we click on this process tab, you will see something called SLA rule here. So this particular flow rule might be having n number of smart shapes. All these smart shapes to be completed as per that SLA. In this SLA, if I give goal as 2 hours, entire flow should be completed in 2 hours. It might be pending at some part. Its system doesn't bother whether it is reaching to the resolution screen or not. That is what the only thing it will check. So it can be called on individual assignment level. It can be called even at entire flow rule level. Fine. And now in this case types, I'll be having such small flow rules, right? So this is one flow rule, this is one flow rule, this is one. Maybe if I'm having something about like background verification. If I'm having something like background verification. So within which I'll be having some flow rule related to police verification. So I'll be having some flow rule related to police verification and some flow rule related to employment verification. And some flow rule related to maybe educational verification, whatever it is. So now entire BGV should be completed. Suppose police verification should be completed in 2 days and educational maybe in 2 days and next one maybe in 3 days or maybe in 2 days. So for that, what I can do? So this flow rule 1, flow rule 2, flow rule 3. All these 3 flow rules individually has got same restrictions, right? So you can create one single SLA rule and apply on this flow rule as well as second and third. This being a rule, you can reuse it, right? Maybe if first one and second one intervals are different, you cannot reuse it. You have to create separate SLA, maybe for first one, separate for second, separate for third. In this way, you have to understand. Now, apart from giving 3 different flow rules individually, I want whole BGV to be completed in 7 days. So for that, it is nothing but collection of 3 different flow rules. You can apply SLA rule even at stage level. Okay, you can apply this even at stage level. This you have to know. At assignment level, at flow rule level, at even at stage level. Stage can have n number of flow rules. Okay, all these like should be completed. That is what expected. After I selecting this right side, you'll see goal and deadline. So there you'll call one SLA rule. Okay, I'll talk about that. Okay, and next thing, This being like entire credit card flow rule execution. So once a credit card is requested, it has to be reaching last till the last. So for this, we'll give 15 days time. So this is to check for whether all the stages are completed or not, within which all the flow rules are completed or not, within which every assignment is done or not. So here we have to go for an SLA rule calling at entire stage level. Okay, entire case type level. Okay, entire case type level. So where you'll do that? So if we go to settings, and here you'll see something like goal and deadline. And here you can see an option like calling an SLA rule. So you have to go for this one and you have to call that SLA rule if it is created. So this is what you have to do. Fine. And if I double click on any single assignment shape, did I close that? Maybe if I double click on single assignment shape, here I can see only SLA rule, right? I can see some option like to call SLA rule. Maybe if I go to individual flow rule, here also I can see some SLA rule. But same things, if I'm trying to check it like case type viewer. So if this is like case type, and if I click on this one, no doubt this is nothing but assignment shape related options only. No, right side, what are you getting? Okay, maybe if I individually double click on that assignment shape, I'll get some options. Similar options I'll get even after I clicking on this and checking for right side. Now, if I go for deadline and goal and deadline, here I'll see two options to call an SLA. There only one small text box to call SLA. Here I can see two things. That is like custom SLA and the other one is existing SLA. What is the difference between custom and existing? So you'll see these two options after you selecting assignment here. Maybe if you're selecting flow rule, then also you can see those two options. If you're selecting a stage, so there also you'll see these two options. If we are going to case type settings, there also you'll see two options. So custom and existing. So here custom meaning some kind of ad hoc SLA, meaning without you creating a rule, you can manage. After I selecting this, if I go for deadline, here, if I select custom SLA, it is not asking for any rule. It is simply asking for some goal to be defined. I can give something like 2 hours and some deadline, maybe like 5 hours. So if I feel like these options will not be reused anywhere. So earlier we understood maybe n number of SLA rules to be created, right? As per our examples, whatever we discussed. So maybe 10 SLA rules is what I'm creating. And if one SLA rule is not reused at any other point, so instead of you blindly creating it as a rule, you can go for some hard-coded values defined here. Okay, if it is to be reused, go for a rule creation, no doubt. So if something is not reused, you can directly go for this custom. So if this is like custom defined, you will not see all the other options. Are you seeing past deadline here? No. You are seeing only deadline and goal. And that too, you will not see all extra features also. You will not see property referenced based, and you are not even seeing n number of escalations. There we have seen like flow actions, data transforms, activities, right? Here we can see only notifying. Okay. And so this is like how many days and how many hours. So limited options is what we'll see. Because this is not like reused. Maybe if it is like reused, go for rule creation and go for existing SLA. Go for existing SLA. This year. So clear, right? So this SLA rule from where we have to reference that we have to. So that is from assignment shape, maybe flow rule, case types, and stages. Everywhere you'll see custom as well as existing. So this is one thing what we have to understand. And you have to understand something more about urgency. And you have to understand even SLA rule, how it will behave if it is like work object locked. So what do you mean by work object locking? Suppose if this is our flow. So this is given at like 9 a.m. Okay, so he's working here for 1 hour. So 10 o'clock, he's trying to submit it. So meaning this assignment is running at 10 o'clock, right? This is running at 10 o'clock. So here we are giving goal as 1 hour. So after 1 hour, item has to be routed to another person. It has to be automatically routed, meaning from his work list, item should not be there. And after 1 hour, item should be available in the next person's work list. That is what expected. For that, you can go for transfer item, right? That is what we understood. Maybe if I'm the initial manager. So 10 o'clock is the starting time and 1 hour is like what I got. So till 11 o'clock, there should not be any escalation for me. So between 10 to 11, item should be there. I can happily work on. And after 11 o'clock, item should be removed from my work list. It should be added in some other person's work list. So exactly at 10:59, so item will be there if I'm trying to open it. If I'm trying to open it, I can as it is, I can as usual access it. And I'm trying to work on this maybe for 1 minute or more than so. In that scenario, background exactly time will be 11 o'clock, right? So what will be the scenario happening there? After 11 o'clock, there should not be access for me, but I have opened it. So in that scenario, what should happen? So SLA also is trying to open this work object ID and doing something like routing part, right? So here, as I earlier told you, system should consider every one of us as a requesters. So it might be an human requester or an application requester or an portal requester or an invocation requester, whatever it is, batch requester. So as an human, I logged in. One request session will be created starting with H. Okay, we understood that. And maybe if SLA rule is also trying to work on the same work object ID, this also will try to acquire the lock, but it will be failed because of default locking. So locking will be failed. It cannot open the item. So SLA rule should be kept paused now. So it cannot do any kind of escalation because item is currently opened. After this item is closed, then it will proceed as usual. So this is one common scenario what you have to. Okay. So you should even understand SLA history part also. So these things we have to work on. Okay. And we have to understand something about urgency related. Something about urgency. So by default, whenever we run the flow, maybe whenever we run the flow, okay, so you can see loan 7001 hyphen dash, sorry, dash JN, right? I'm closing this. So one case type is one work object ID is generated and it is somewhere pending at first assignment. So if I just check in my work list, by default, it will be current operator. So item should be available in my work list. And here it will be showing, okay, here it will be showing something like 10 as the urgency. You can see this item. You can see urgency as 10. From where are we getting this 10? As I told you, this entire work list is from two different tables. Okay, what are those two tables?
Work table and PYS work list.
Or work table and assign-work list table. And this property is from our own work table only. Earlier I told you this, right? So work list is nothing but pulling out data from two different tables, or work table and assign-work list table. So based on the PEGA dynasty, its PX ref object key content will be pulled out. So this is what it will display. For every work object ID, you can see something urgency as 10. So it might be available in this table or in this table, right? It will be available in this table only. For one work object ID, you are seeing something urgency as 10, meaning if I open its clipboard on PWork page, I can see all the content also, right? So there will be one OOTB property holding something value as 10. So this OOTB property is being set from PY default data transform. We know that. Okay. So if you're trying to set any property related to PWork page, generally it must be because of PY default data transform. So you know this will be in work dash cover dash, and because of superclass data transform, somewhere it must be set. Now let us open the data transform and check whether that property value is there or not. And before that, let us check for the value in clipboard. So this is the flow rule, and click on clipboard, and on PY work page. Where is it? On PY work page. So right side, you will see urgency value as 10. So this is the OOTB property for the same. PX urgency work class. This is one OOTB property which is holding value as 10. This you have to do. And all these OOTB properties must be set from PY default data transform only. No? So open that PY default data transform. So this is what being executed. And this data transform has the tendency to check for its parent classes, right? So open its a super class. So here are we seeing anything like PX urgency work class, its value as 10? No, it must be in its super class. So here you can see its value being set as 10. Its value being set as 10. So for every flow rule, urgency value is standard as 10. So if we just check for the structure at the rate base class, work dash, cover dash. So below which if I'm having one credit card related application, loans related application, something like accounts related application. So I'm having flow rule here. And I'm having a flow rule here. And I'm having a flow rule here. So if I'm trying to run flow, I might get work object IDs as C-1, 2, 3. Maybe here L-1, maybe L-2, L-3, maybe A-1, A-2, A-3. So if I run this, I'm seeing its urgency value as 10, everywhere 10 only, because here this data transform is setting PX urgency work class as 10. Every flow rule by default is utilizing this data transform only, you know that. Now, these credit card flow rules are very, very important, high priority for us. In that scenario, better you keep this urgency little increased. For that, what you have to do? This data transform you have to save as onto this one, right? You know that. And in that scenario, you have to save as into this rule sets. So in that scenario, not onto this class, onto those rule sets. Okay, onto those rule sets. So if any requester or person logging in here, so in his operator's profile, so he can see all these application rule sets and above rule sets. They will not see these rule sets, right? So that is the reason we are trying to override this rule into this rule set. Somewhere it will be available. So now if I can change the urgency value to 20, for every credit card related flow, default urgency will be 20 only. And now if you're saving this to somewhere below and everywhere it will be 30. And if you're save as in this below, everywhere it will be 40, 40, 40. And for all these things, there will be one high level manager called Rahul. So if Rahul is logging in, he will be seeing work object IDs as A-3 first, A-2, A-1. After that, L-3, L-2, L-1. Then C-3, C-2, C-1. So why are we getting these three at the top? Because these three are of having high urgency. So these might be created at whatever the time it might be. It might be maybe 1 week ago. So this might be the latest one. But this being the highest urgency value, it will be displayed at the top. And between these three, now creation time comes into picture. Now these three are of urgencies 30, 30, 30. These three are of urgencies 20, 20, 20. So for every flow rule or for every its associated work object ID, if you are supposed to set some default urgency, you can modify it in this data transform. You cannot directly do it here. You can save as into your rule set and make the change. So this we are calling it as default urgency. And after default urgency, maybe whenever I'm running this case, so maybe this start shape will be started with, right? Then itself I'll see urgency as 20 in this case. So then I'll get assignment number 1 launched. Assignment number 1, I'll try to complete it. After this, this second assignment will be launched, which is like SLA. In between, there might be 1 hour delay. After 1 hour, when your SLA is started, then if we are setting some urgency here as, if we are setting some urgency here as maybe 20, then what will happen? Whenever your SLA is started, urgency is to be increased. Now, PX urgency work class in clipboard, it will be increased to 40. Okay, so now this will be increased to 40, somewhere this one. So if it is 40, it has to be reaching somewhere to the top. Again, according to the based on creation time now. All these are 40 only, right? So this will be increasing somewhere to the top. Okay. And here, after this SLA execution is started, you are giving goal as maybe 2 hours. Goal as 2 hours. After this 2 hours is done, still item is not completed. So if you are having urgency increased like 15, then what will happen? After that 2 hours of time, then urgency will be increased to 15, that is 65, which might be every time at the top. So even after 2 hours, if a task is not completed, it might reach to the deadline time. So their urgency will be again increased. So it might be like, maybe if you are giving 15 there, it might be increased to 18. And after your past deadline time, maybe if your urgency is like 10, maybe 3 limits uncounted. First time it will be 10, next time added with 10, next time added with 10. Likewise, it will try to add every time as 10, but it will be rounded off to 100 as the maximum. Okay, so you should understand PX urgency work class is equal to default urgency plus initial urgency plus goal urgency plus deadline urgency plus past deadline urgency with its looping. This you have to know. So this one, initially it will be set as 10. So maybe here itself, if you're trying to increase it to something like 20, it will be affected. Whenever your SLA is started, whenever your goal time is complete, whenever your deadline is completed. So whenever your past deadlines are completed, according to that, for one work object ID urgency, we are keep on increasing from this SLA rule. Timely basis, we are trying to increase according to that. So it's a sorting in the work list or work basket will be rearranged. So this is what you have to. Understood, right? Everyone clear? So we have to work on all these things practically. So everyone clear about all these SLA rule options?
Yes.
Clear ga? Okay, so we'll work on this one practically tomorrow.
సార్ ఇది కేసులో చేసినప్పుడు మనకి పైన లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్ లో అర్జెన్సీ వాల్యూ కనిపిస్తుంది సార్.
ఎక్కడ కేస్ టైప్స్ లో
కేస్ లాంచ్ చేసి పక్క యూజర్ పోర్టల్ లాంచ్ చేసింది సెకండ్ ట్యాబ్ లో.
ఓకే,
ఇక్కడ పక్కన లెఫ్ట్ లో 10 అని కనిపిస్తుంది ప్రయారిటీ.
ఓకే, ఆఫ్టర్ ఓపెనింగ్ వర్క్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్
వర్క్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్.
Okay, I'm trying to open this. Urgency value అంటే nothing but by that time PX urgency work class ఇక.
కానీ లైవ్ వ్యూ పెట్టి చూస్తే వేరే ప్రాపర్టీ రిఫరెన్స్ చూపిస్తుంది సార్ అక్కడ.
అసలు 10 ఎక్కడ కనిపిస్తుంది?
అక్కడే ప్రియారిటీ ఎడిట్ కింద.
PX urgency work. Okay, so in clipboard are we having two properties? Okay, so this might be showing as PX urgency work, but here it will be as PX urgency work class only. ఇక్కడ కూడా అదే వస్తుందా? PX urgency assign. Okay, so the main one will be PX urgency work class. Maybe the same value might be set to these two other properties I put. The main one will be urgency work class. From there, value might be set to other two properties like this. Got it?
Got it.
Why? Because whenever we're working with SLA rule, maybe after 2 hours, if I increase the urgency to 35, so same 35 will be reflected here as well as in that summary panel also, meaning that property value must be set to other applicable properties. Okay.
Yes.